Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast. Back to almost reality, 9 o'clock on a Wednesday, 9:06 exactly. I had to go to work today, first day back to school for Ottumwa teachers. So summer is over. It is time to get back to reality. Golf tournament tomorrow, though, so I don't have to go to school work. I got to go to work, but not school work. So I'll be at a golf course all day tomorrow. And then we're back to reality, a few more days. And for Ottumwa, we're a little bit later. We actually don't start till next Wednesday with kids. Most schools are going on Monday, the day after the fair. That is the new rule here in Iowa is the day after the fair. You can't start till then. So used to start about now, but now you have to wait till after the fair. So we sat new superintendent Brad McCloskey. I might have even talked about him. He's one of my good friends from 20 years being in this area. He was a teacher. He left. He went to West Branch, Keokuk, Davis County, different positions and stuff. And now he's been back in Ottumwa a few years. But he is our new superintendent. Spent a lot of time with him over the years when we were younger and everything, duck hunting, deer hunting, just things like that. So really good seeing him get that position. It's always nice to see your friends and stuff succeed and get to their dreams and stuff. And, just other friends and stuff like that. A lot of people today had seen that, I got married and everything, and congratulations and stuff. So that I hadn't seen since that, not that it's been that long, but just good to see everybody start getting back in the rhythm. The worst part is going to bed earlier and then getting up a little bit earlier not that I sleep in real late, but the 6:15, I don't get up at 6:15 on a regular basis unless I have to.
Party time is over for you teachers.
Yep.
The Seinfeld episode, Mr. Bookman.
Yep, absolutely. Party time is over. And then, just a couple things here and then back at it. Like I said, golf tomorrow, and then Tyler plays baseball in Sioux Falls, South Dakota this weekend. So that's really the farthest we've traveled with baseball. Overall, been real lucky. We've done Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, and Omaha. That's as far as we've ever went. So a little bit farther this weekend, but that'll be just fine. Weather looks pretty good. We don't play till Saturday night at 5:30, so the plan was to drive up Friday and then stay 2 nights. But since they don't play till 5:30, I'm going to save $200 or $250 for a hotel room, and I'm not going to get up, just get up and go. Don't even have to go that early, 9 o'clock Saturday morning and head up. So do that. I'm sure we'll be back late Sunday will be the problem.
Yeah, I don't blame you. If you can save $250, you may as well do that. Obviously, baseball and all those different sports. You talked about golf. I know you sent a snap. Golfers are out there getting ready for the season. So it's school starting back up. State Fair. I know Laney Wilson was at the State Fair. They've had some other performers. That's always a big thing. The Iowa State Fair, of course. A lot of friends go up there. People camping in the campgrounds. It's usually some late nights. So. Yeah, football's in the air, though. This is always the time where football is getting ready to ramp back up. That's going to be the strong point of our podcast tonight. College football mostly, with a little bit of NFL, but it's not far. We're very close.
No, next Thursday will be the first games, correct? I believe. Correct. I think there are not very many, but there are a few. I believe Drake or UNI or maybe both of them play on Thursday. So, you get that kind of level of football, too. It's not just big schools. In fact, I don't know if there's any big schools playing next Thursday, but I do know Drake. I believe Drake plays Thursday. I remember hearing that. And then next Saturday is the game in Ireland that Iowa State played in last year. So, and then it's off and running.
Yeah, I've got some games next week Thursday, and then the official start of week 1 for college football. Saturday, August 29th, you mentioned the North Carolina TCU game.
Yep.
USC plays Hawaii at Stanford. Memphis at UNLV. There's a few games in there, but really it's Thursday, September 3rd, and then that weekend where we officially get ramped up with basically all the teams.
Yeah. Yep. So, it's crazy. So maybe the first game is Saturday, the Ireland game, and then it's that next Thursday that most people start. So maybe it isn't Drake. Maybe I heard that wrong, but no. But football is here. We were going to pick Iowa State win-loss record game by game. We're going to do Iowa, Then we're going to do Nebraska like we do always. And then I do believe, it's going to be interesting. And we've talked about it several times. I don't know if it's a hate watch or just interesting watch or what could have been watch, but we're going to do Penn State as well, just because it's very relevant. One in the Big Ten, one in the national scene, because their schedule and everything, they should get to the playoff. And then obviously with the Iowa State connection, it's just real simple. I do think people around here care. Now, whether they care, what reason they care for is interesting. I was flipping through YouTube the other night, and right now most of the schools are doing their preseason, like episode 1 inside Husker football or inside Cyclone football. It doesn't matter. It was Penn State, and it was number 1. And I turned it on. I just wanted to hear what Campbell had to say, and Laura, and very rightfully so. It's like, why do you need to know? You know what he's going to say. And it was 100% correct. I mean, he's said the same thing for 10 years, and he's not going to change. And that is what's Iowa State's media day was today, and Jimmy Rogers talked. And it's so different. He just talks different. I believe he is a little bit more forthright, not as many coaching cliches. It's not, we're going to get to the best version of ourselves. We're doing day by, he says those things, but in a different way. And it's not just repeated and, different goals. And he talked about how many points and how, like he's from South Dakota State and the offensive coordinator's from North Dakota State. And he would never say North Dakota State is kind of funny. It's kind of like Michigan and Ohio State. He's like, their program, their team won all the national championships, and we were trying to imitate that. And we finally got over the hurdle. Like he won a national championship coaching there and stuff. So, it's just funny how he talks. And Campbell did that. He didn't say if you listen to him, he didn't say Iowa. It was just the other team, or very rarely. I'm not going to say he never did, but because right or wrong, he grew up in Ohio. So Ohio State and Michigan were. He knows what that rivalry is and how to talk. And he didn't do great against Iowa, but obviously he's won 3 of the last 4. And actually, with the forfeits and everything, it's actually, I think it might be 5 in a row or 4 out of 5 or whatever it might have been. But what have you been up to? I see you're at home. Haven't been home for a while, just with your vacations, and then I know the wildfires and stuff. And you just came back and stayed for a little bit. So everything good back home? And
everything's good back here. I'm at home for a few days, and then it's off to Scottsdale for a gas conference I'm going to be at a resort. Looks like it's going to be pretty cool. So I'm excited to check that out. And then going to go to St. George, Utah for a couple days the following week, and then make my way back home. Mid-September, we have a national sales meeting in Miami.
Okay.
So it might be my first time going to Miami. Looking forward to that. And then, before that and after, obviously, a lot of fantasy football drafts, your college football pick 'em. I've signed up for a couple of survivor pools and Splash Sports and all those.
I got to get in. Taylor, I got his invite. I haven't got in yet, but I need to do that. So.
That's all ramping up right now. So I don't know. Do you want to go with Iowa or Iowa State first? I'm gonna let you decide on that.
Let's go with Iowa. I do think it's more interesting than you think, because we all know what you're going to get out of Kirk Ferentz, but I do believe with all the graduation, the defense is not going to be as good as it's been. I think it can be. Now, are they still going to be good? Are still they going to be above average? Absolutely. Phil Parker is as good as there is in the business at getting his guys to do it. I just don't know if he has the horses this year compared to what he's had. And then the offense. So I do believe the offense is going to have to score more points. And then we've all seen and heard what happened this weekend at Kids Day, or, the open practice where Hecklinski was awesome, led him on 5 touchdown drives, couldn't do anything wrong really. And then Hank Brown couldn't do anything. So I do believe that Hecklinski will win the job and start, but I do very much think that Hank Brown will get his chances early in the year. Northern Illinois actually I always like reading this article. I don't know why, but Ryan McGee writes it for ESPN, but it's the bottom 10. And then he makes it really funny and stuff. It's just the way he writes and everything. But excuse me, back to school and I start coughing. It's just amazing. And but he writes that bottom 10. And Northern Illinois is one of the worst teams, which kind of surprised me. I haven't paid much attention to Northern Illinois in several years. So should be cakewalk with them. They play Iowa State, and then they play UNI. So, they don't leave the state until they play at Michigan. And Iowa State is the same way. Iowa State does not leave Iowa until October 9th when they play at BYU. So their first 5 games are all in Iowa or in Iowa City for the one. So both teams will start out really well. I think it's pretty – for Iowa, it's pretty obvious. I have them going 3-0 in the non-conference. I'm sure you do too. On paper, they're going to be better than Iowa State. I do think the game – I believe the spread right now, depending on where you're looking, is 12.5 or so. I think I would take Iowa State in the points just because it is Iowa State. It has been close most years. But I do believe we just don't know about Iowa State, and we're going to get into that after we go through Iowa, that it definitely could get out of hand Iowa's favor. I do not see any way where Iowa State would beat Iowa 31-7. I don't see that. But very easily it could be 31-7 Iowa over Iowa State. So 3-0 non-conference with Iowa.
Same here. I've got them going 3-0 to get the season started. I just think there's too many unknowns of Iowa State. If Campbell was still there, it's more of a toss-up game in my opinion. But with all the unknowns, I'm going to go 3-0 too. So that brings us to the first Big Ten game for Iowa and the first road game at Michigan.
Yep.
And this is going to be one of my slight surprises for the Iowa football season. I believe Nowinski and some of the weapons they've got on offense. I'm going to give them the win on the road early in the year over a new regime there at Michigan.
This is, and we're kind of breaking it down by threes. This 3-game stretch will define Iowa's season. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Okay, 3 good teams, 3 ranked teams as of right now. And 2 of the 3 on the road, but Ohio State, the best team, is at home. So on paper, should go 0-3. I do think this Michigan game will be very, very close. I do have it as a loss. New quarterback in the big house. Yes, we've talked about a little bit overrated, but it's still 100,000 people on the road in the Big Ten. I do think they lose the game, but I do think it's very, very close. This is not go up there and get whooped. This is very, very close. Would it shock me if Iowa goes in there and wins on a field goal? Absolutely not.
Yeah, for this next 3-game stretch you're talking about, at Michigan, home versus Ohio State, and then at Washington, most Iowa fans agree you got to win at least one of them.
Yep.
Really need to win one. If you win 2 or more, obviously that's even better. So this is the one where I'm going to give them the win. And then I know you kind of said we're going 3 games or so at a time here. At home versus Ohio State, I'm going to give them a loss. And then at Washington, that's on a Friday night, so it's a short week, long trip out west. We know Kirk Ferentz out west doesn't, just the record is what it is. So I had to give them 1 win in that 3-game stretch. So I gave it at Michigan, but I've got them after 6 games. I've got them 4-2.
Okay. Yeah, I've got them losing the next 2 games as well. I do think Michigan is the game they can win, the most likely game. They can win all of them. Was it the last time Ohio State came into Kinnick that Iowa 55-24 or whatever it was? Now that's a whole different argument that we could go a whole podcast on why it's been like 12 years since Ohio State's been in Kinnick Stadium. But, I don't see that this year. Ohio State is fighting for a national championship. It really is national championship or bust for them, I believe. There's about 3 teams in the country that are that way. I think Texas is that way. I think Ohio State's that way. And I really think Oregon is that way. Oregon is at the point where they need to win a natty. They've been there. They've been to the championship. They've been the number 1 seed. Just haven't made it happen yet. But I do think those 3 teams, and I think you could probably actually throw Notre Dame in there as well. They need to win it.
Yeah, most certainly. So we'll talk about some of those teams as well. Looking at their next 3 games, home versus Wisconsin, I'm going to give them the win.
Okay.
At Northwestern, win. And then home versus Purdue, I'm going to give them win. So a 3-game winning streak after a 2-game losing streak.
Okay. They got Minnesota in there at Minnesota on October 4th.
Yep. Sorry about that. So,
yep. So they have a bye week after Washington. So they get an extra day there. So it's a short week at Washington and then an extra long break after to go at Minnesota, which there's several people that think Minnesota is going to be a little bit better this year. I do think they win. Kirk Ferentz has Philip Fleck's number. Yes, they have the one loss with the controversial, fair catch, whatever. But Kirk Ferentz gets it done. Wisconsin, I've actually heard some people say they think Wisconsin is going to be better as well, which they really couldn't get worse. But this is the part of the schedule you're playing. Well, really, the rest of the way is the Big Ten West. So you have to, all 6 games left, Big Ten West. This is where the Hawks have to just make hay. If they get a chance to the playoff, win one of those 3 games, or even with the 3, make it, depending how everything else happens, got to start running the table. So I have them winning the next 3.
Yeah, same as well. Sorry, I went over that Minnesota game. But, yeah, I've got them 3 in a row there. So that would put them at 6-2 for me.
Yep. And I've got them, it'd be 6-3 for me.
Yeah. So, or excuse me, that'd be, my computer, my Word document.
7 for 2. Yep.
That takes us into the final 3-game stretch.
Yep.
Purdue, Illinois, and Nebraska.
Yep.
And I'm going to give them the win versus Purdue, the loss at Illinois, and then, of course, winning versus Nebraska to end the season. So I've got them going 9-3. Okay. With kind of an unexpected season, the offense takes a step forward. And going into next year, Polinsky coming back, some of the offensive players, high expectations going into the 27 season.
Yep. So 9-3 for you. That would get them in the conversation, much like they were last year, in that playoff race the entire time. I mean, especially with 5-1 ending for you, they'll be in that conversation on team 13, 14, 15, and if everything runs right, you'd have a chance. A 3-loss team has not got in the playoff yet. It's only a matter of time, but it's not there yet. I actually have them winning all 6 games. Okay, so I do just have them struggling there in the middle of the year with those 3 teams, which I wouldn't even call it a struggle. It's just the 3 best teams, and they're going to finish 4th, 5th, 6th in the Big Ten, which is right where they're picked to be. And so I've got them winning the Big Ten West. The hardest game in that stretch is at Illinois. It's not close. Illinois with Bielema is better, but I think they get that one. And then Nebraska at home, and then Purdue is not good. Northwestern is not good. And Wisconsin and Minnesota are just not on Iowa's level right now. So I have them at 9-3 as well. So we just have 1 game difference. And it would not shock me one bit. They win one of those 3 I have lost. And then, like at Illinois or even – at Northwestern's kind of been a bugaboo over Ferentz's time. New stadium, maybe a little bit more resurgent crowd, things like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised you had him at 9-3 as well. But, yeah, that 3-game stretch, that's really the season. Yeah, obviously they got to take care of the first 3 games, of course, to start the season out. Northern Illinois, Iowa State, and UNI. And then if they do that, then, like I said, at least win one of those 3, if they can win 2 or more, it's going to be really high expectations for the remainder of the season. And then, like you said, the Big Ten West kind of end out the second half of the schedule for the year. So, yeah, we both have them at 9-3. I think that might be the first time we've agreed on Iowa's record exactly as far as record goes. I mean, the safer pick, as we know, is probably 8-4. Right. But I do have a little bit of hope for the offense. Not a lot, but a little.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think they will definitely take a step forward. Lester's been in the program enough now. It's a quarterback that he's had chance to work with for at least half a year or whatever. And he is much, much better than the previous one with Brian Ferentz. And it does take some time to establish the room and everything. And now it's all his. If Heklinski is not doing it right, I don't think he'll hesitate to go to Hank Brown. I know Ferentz doesn't like doing that, but I think Lester would. And it's not like, before where there just wasn't any talent in the room and Lester was just dealt with what he was dealt with. Now it's his guys, it's his room. And I do think they'll be better on offense with half step. The one thing that I'm a little bit worried about, and this is the special teams. LeVar Woods at Michigan State. Yes, his right-hand man is now the guy, but there's something to it. I mean, was LeVar Woods the special sauce, or was it his players? I mean, obviously he's had really good kickers and punters. We'll just see on that.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of an underrated story for Iowa going into the season is how are the special teams going to be? Will they continue to excel like they do most years under the Iowa program, or do they take a step back? So, yeah, when you saw that family night or whatever, or Iowa, and you saw the stat lines between the two quarterbacks, there was a lot of comments that saw Hank Brown, he was terrible, and everybody goes, well, Hank Brown starting week 1 with Kirk Ferentz, he's on the stat line. So,
that's exactly right. And that is one day. Now, I do think that should weigh more because it is in front of some people. It is when the lights are on. It is when the cameras are on. But it's not 100% just whatever happens. But there has to be something to – some people are gamers. And, Hank Brown in the situation last year against Indiana had a chance to win the game or do – and he threw it in the dirt. You don't know what happens if he completes the pass. It sure looked like it was going to be a touchdown or at least a very long game and give them a great chance to win that football game. So maybe the lights are too bright or too big for him, and he's not a gamer. But we heard Spencer Petras in practice was unbelievable. He was great at the Manning passing. But when the lights were on in Kinnick Stadium or every other stadium, he really wasn't that good. So I do think it'll be Hecklinski, but we'll see. It wouldn't 100% shock me if
he's a little bit more of a mover. He's a little bit more of a mover too. So I've always said if Iowa can have a quarterback that could pick up, I'm a broken record on this, 2 or 3 first downs a game, that really gives Iowa a much greater chance to win just about every week because we know the passing game lacks most years. So I kind of like Hecklinski. That's my gut feeling. But the quarterback battle and then special teams, like you mentioned, plus replacing a bunch of production all over the team. It's going to be interesting. That this is it's kind of a mystery year for Iowa for me.
Yeah, it's what you are it's mystery in Iowa City and it's mystery at Iowa State. The only thing that's not a mystery in Iowa is Kirk Ferentz's 27 years. So what Iowa football is still going to look like. Right now at Iowa State it's year 0, and so we have no idea. We have an idea. But it's a different level, first time as a Power 4 head coach, and we'll see. So that is the difference on Iowa still getting respect in middle of the pack, 3-game series, or 3-game set where it's going to determine the season. If they've got a chance. If they could somehow win at Michigan and at Washington, and their only loss is Ohio State, and they're 11-1, they might be playing for the Big Ten championship. I mean, with the one loss to Ohio State, because I think Oregon and Indiana and Ohio State kind of all round robin each other at least. If not, they play each other.
Yeah, that would be awesome if that happens. Hopefully, if Iowa does get back to the Big Ten championship game, they can have a little bit better performance in the last couple. The one versus Michigan State in 2015, that was a good game, of course. But the last 2 times versus Michigan in the Big Ten championship has not gone well for Iowa. So I would love if they could make it there. You mentioned Iowa State. I think let's move on to the Cyclones, and I'll let you go first if you want. Kind of that 3-game stretch. You already mentioned that you have Iowa winning, but the other 2 games, of course. Yeah,
it's a 3-game. It's Southeast Missouri, which is FCS, just like you and I. So win there, lost Iowa, and then winning against Bowling Green. It's just a game you have to win. I mean, it's just not. It's not an option. You just have to win that game at home. Go 2-1, and then these first 2. So I'm assuming you have them the same 2-1 there.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, it's what you have to. If something goes haywire there, it's just not good. But crazier things have happened. When Campbell was there, one of the first years, it took Brock Purdy. I think it was his second year, falling on it. Or it would have been Campbell's 3rd year falling on it to save a win for Iowa. And they've got Gene Chizik, I believe, lost to UNI his first time. Maybe even Matt Campbell did. I can't remember. But, I mean, it's been not great against FCS teams. Now, I do think Southeast Missouri is not as good as like a UNI typically is, but should be an easy win. Bowling Green's a game you just have to win, so you got to get those. These first two, September 26th and then October 3rd, Utah and West Virginia, both at home. Now, Utah is picked towards the top of the Big 12. Over the last 10 years, been very, very good. Won some Pac-12 titles, played in Rose Bowls, been very good in the Big 12. I do think they're going to be very, very good, but it is a new coach. Kyle Whittingham retired, whatever you want to call it there. Now he's at Michigan, so obviously he took some staff with him. But the coach they have was already picked. He was already going to be the guy, and they kind of forced Whittingham out because I think the process needed to happen, and the guy wanted the job or whatever. So I do think Utah will come into Jack Trice Stadium and beat them, but I do think that game's going to be closer than people think, just because it's at home. It's the first real test at Jack Trice Stadium with Jimmy Rogers, and he will have those guys ready to go. But loss against Utah that September 26th.
Same here. I have them with the loss against Utah. Utah, on paper has got a lot better players. We think anyway. We'll see how the game goes, but yeah, lost against Utah for me as well.
Yep. And then West Virginia at home. This is a game you need to win. If you want to have any type of chance of getting a bowl game, you just have to win this game. Rich Rod is in his second year. It's his second stint. He had a complete turnover of the roster, just again, like Jimmy Rogers did, only it's his second year because whatever he did the first year wasn't ready, didn't do whatever, needed it again that second year. So I do have them beating West Virginia on October 3rd at Jack Trice Stadium.
It's definitely a game they need to win. I have them as a loss just because West Virginia, like you mentioned, year two. So I'm giving them the bump there. So I do have them losing that game to West Virginia.
Yep. And then this is October 9th. This is, again, Iowa State's traveling west on that same Friday night. And this is, if you are not doing anything, Trev, that weekend or whatever, and you can get back here Friday night. Saturday is we're playing that Ryder Cup up in Iowa City, but Friday night, obviously, Iowa State and Iowa play. So it worked out where both teams were playing Friday night. So it'll be a heck of a game watch with both games going on wherever we decide to watch that. And then obviously going up to Iowa City and playing golf against Iowa City. At BYU is almost the favorite. Texas Tech is still kind of the favorite in the Big 12, but BYU is definitely second. Very close to getting the playoff last year. Only 2 losses to Texas Tech in the regular season. That's a loss, and that one could get ugly, I believe.
Yeah, same here. I've got them losing at BYU. BYU could easily win the Big 12 this year. Really tough place to play. You mentioned both those games being on a Friday. That'd be fun to be back for. What day is that again? I know you said it, but
October 9th will be that day.
October 9th. There's a chance I might be back for that. So if I am, that would be awesome to get together and watch those games. But yeah, for me, I just think that's a tough ask to go to BYU to Provo and to win that one. So I have them for a loss as well there.
Yep. And then they have a bye, so they get that same. It is kind of Iowa's and Iowa State schedules almost exactly the same. They both have 2 Fridays. They both play that same Friday on the 9th, and then they both have the same bye week. So then after the BYU game, there's a bye. And then October 24th, they go to Arizona, which is one of those teams that many, many people think are getting better. I think they had 9 wins last year. They got better under Brennan, I believe, in his second year. So now his third year. Quarterback is very experienced, been there several years. Arizona, I can't remember if we were talking about it, but maybe an underrated place to play. That's difficult. I think we talked about that last week. That's just not a good recipe for this year's Iowa State team. So a loss at Arizona.
Yeah, same here. Loss there. If that's a night game too.
Yeah, which obviously we don't know right now, but
right. If it is, look out for that stadium. I mean, if Arizona's meeting expectations like you meant, that could be a night game, and that's just a really tough underrated stadium. So I do have them with a loss on that one.
Okay, now Halloween night. This is interesting. Both Wisconsin at Iowa, and then Oklahoma State comes to Iowa State. Now, this is what needs to happen. Oklahoma State needs to wear their orange, and then Iowa State wears their black on Halloween. That's what needs to happen. So Halloween night, so Iowa State and Ames will be on fire. Jack Trice Stadium. It will be very, very, I believe, obviously if things go really haywire and we've got a couple wins or something, but I believe that the stadium will be ready to go on Halloween night just because it is Halloween. Oklahoma State's doing the same thing Iowa State's doing. New coach, brought the entire team from North Texas. The difference is his guys are on offense and Iowa State's guys are on defense. Oklahoma State's got a little bit more funding, probably able to pay a little bit more for their guys. They've got an elite quarterback prospect. We don't know, but he is projected to be an NFL guy. Everybody wanted him, and he followed his Oklahoma State, and I'm sure they paid him well for it. So I do have them losing, but that is a game they could win because you just don't know how it's really going to work at Oklahoma State as well. They really are doing the same thing Iowa State's doing.
Yeah, I'm just giving the advantage to, like you mentioned, probably a little bit more money at Oklahoma State. The quarterback momentum is pretty good, at least it seems. So, yeah, I've got Iowa State losing to Oklahoma State as well.
All right, now November 7th, Iowa State goes to Baylor. Now, at this time, Baylor may have a new coach, or at least a different coach, probably not their full-time coach, depending on how their season goes. If Dave Aranda is still the coach, they're doing all right, and I reserve the right to change my pick. I have them winning this game because I think the season has went south already for Baylor. It's not so much about Baylor or Iowa State, who's a better team. I do think Baylor's just going to be in a tailspin because it's not going to go well early, and either he's still the head coach and no one wants him there, or he's already been fired and they're just surviving, looking for a new coach already. I don't think they're great, but so I do have them winning at Baylor in the biggest surprise win of the year so far.
I have it as another loss.
Yep.
6 losses in a row. I think they'll be competitive in some games, but again, there's just so much unknown. So that one was just at Baylor. Okay, Baylor gets the win. That's how I looked at it.
No, I can't argue with that. Next, November 14th, Cincinnati comes to Jack Trice Stadium. I think this is kind of the same situation. I think they could have already fired their coach, or their coach is very much on the hot seat if their season isn't going well. I do think Iowa State can win that one in Jack Trice Stadium. If this was on the road, different story. So I have them winning this one.
Same here. I got them getting the W there.
Okay. And then this is another Friday night game for Iowa State. Now, this is another long travel. Go to Central Florida. Weather won't be an issue here. You're going to go to warmer weather, so it'll be better. The Friday night before Thanksgiving at Central Florida. I do think Iowa State's better than them, but this is just it's kind of, you could almost flip this one in the Baylor game. I have them losing this game just because Iowa State's not going to win every game that's a coin flip. It's just not going to happen this year.
Same here. I have them with the loss at UCF.
Okay. And then to finish the season, Saturday after Thanksgiving, Kansas State, their new coach, but they have an established quarterback who he helped recruit there before he left to go to Texas A&M, bringing back one of their all-time greats. I just think they're going to be more ahead of Iowa State at this point. So another loss there, finishing the season at 5-7, no bowl game, and just an okay season, but not a great season. Maybe kind of what's expected.
This will be a little bit of a surprise. I've got them pulling the big upset for the final game of the season. Rodgers gets his team together. I think they've been close in some games, and they pull off one at the end of the season. So I have them going 4-8. But if this was Matt Campbell still there, I could see a 7-5 or 8-4, kind of a schedule flipped. But just so many unknowns with this new coaching staff and all the players.
Yeah, I mean when you start traveling on the road, I have that win at Baylor. That's an easy one to flip to a loss. All of a sudden you're 4-8 instead of 5-7. Maybe you do pull one upset and you do beat Oklahoma State at home, or it doesn't matter. But I think 6-6. If you can get to 6-6 and get to a bowl game, be a huge success this year for Jimmy Rogers and Iowa State. Just don't know if it's in the cards this year.
I completely agree. If he can get to 6 wins, get to a bowl game, whatever happens in the bowl game, fine. That would be a pretty big win, in my opinion, for the first year at Iowa State. Not even trying to hate as an Iowa fan, just that would be a pretty big deal in year number 1.
Yeah. So it's just a little bit step back this year, but I do think they will be playing better at the end of the year. A couple of those games I wish were later in the year. The Oklahoma State, they're going to be on the same trajectory. There's just not a lot of easy wins in the Big 12. It's not that it's not games that have no chance. They're not playing Texas Tech. They're not playing, Houston, who's one of those teams that's supposed to, they're missing half the top 4 or 5 teams, and they don't. And the Big 12 doesn't have an Ohio State, an Oregon. They're not going to go play the number 2 team in the country, which is a good thing this year for the Cyclones. But there's a lot of coin flip games, and you hit the nail on the head. If Matt Campbell and all those guys were still there, it's baseline 7-5, and then you get a couple more, and then you got 9 or 10. Just because it's kind of like that Kirk Ferentz. All of a sudden, we don't know a lot about that, but we're picking Iowa to go 9-3 because we know what Kirk Ferentz is going to do. We knew what Matt Campbell was going to do, and we knew some of the players coming back. But we really don't know anything, and it might surprise us, or they might surprise us the wrong way too, and just not be very good.
There's going to be a couple surprise teams out there that do better than we all think. There's going to be a couple that do worse. So maybe Iowa State could be that surprise team this year. I'm just kind of erring on the side of caution, I guess. So 4-8 is where I've got them. We're only 1 game off there. So, through Iowa and Iowa State, we're just a 1-game difference as far as overall record goes.
All right, Nebraska. We got to do this every year. We do have some friends in Nebraska and just, close. And Iowa and Iowa State both like to make fun of Nebraska, so we like to do this. Their first 3 games, I think, at home against Ohio, Bowling Green. So Bowling Green's going to drive or fly to Nebraska, fly home, and then fly to Iowa State. So they play back-to-back. So I think that's actually in Iowa State's advantage, playing back-to-back travel, back-to-back Power 4 teams. So hopefully Nebraska beats the crap out of Bowling Green. So Iowa State gets it a little bit easier there. But so 3 wins there, and then they play North Dakota, their FCS team, which isn't a bad team, but how long has he's been there 4 years now? I think it might be his 4th year here, so he's got it going a little bit better maybe. So I do have them going 3-0 in the first 3 non-conference games.
Same here. Nebraska starts out 3-0, and then they obviously start the Big Ten schedule.
Yep, and they're September 26th at Michigan State. I have that as a win. I don't think Michigan State's going to be great. Fitzgerald is there, the coach now. It's early in the year. They're going to be a little bit out of sync. Nebraska is just going to be a little bit better this point in the season. If this game was the last game of the season or towards the end, I might do a little bit different. I do think Fitzgerald will get Michigan State straightened up. They just got problems, and I know you pick Michigan State to lose every single game ever. So I'm sure you have Nebraska beat Michigan State.
I don't. this is one of the early upsets of the season. I have Michigan State taking down Nebraska first week of Big Ten play to kind of put a damper in Nebraska's hopes for this season. So I believe in Fitzgerald there at Michigan State. I know it's early, like you mentioned, but that's going to be a tough place to play. That might be a game they're overlooking a little. It's the first away game, so who knows? But I just have Michigan State pulling an early upset that people probably aren't thinking about.
Okay. And then Maryland comes to Lincoln. I just don't think Maryland's very good, so I'm gonna pick another win for the Huskers.
Same.
And then their test starts. Indiana comes to Lincoln. That will be, I would guess, especially, there's a real chance where Nebraska's undefeated. If they would beat Michigan State, there's a real chance they're undefeated. Indiana most likely is going to be undefeated. That could definitely be the 7:00 game on Fox or whatever channels has it, CBS, or even the 2:30 CBS game or that could be big noon. I mean, that's going to have a lot of eyeballs on it. One, Nebraska, the big thing, and then as long as Indiana's still winning, they're going to want Kirk Cinetti and that team on TV as well. So that's going to be a big, big game in Lincoln. But the Hoosiers are going to come in and put on them because they're just a lot better.
Agreed. I have Indiana beating Nebraska in that one.
And then no rest for the weary or for the Huskers. Now you get to travel all the way out west to Oregon, and that one could get ugly as well.
We're both probably on the same way. Lost there as well.
Yep. So I have them at 6-2 through 8 games, and you have them at 5-3, right? Yeah, because you got the loss at Michigan State.
Yeah, and then obviously the next game at Washington home versus Washington.
Yep, home versus Washington.
Yeah, I've got Washington beating them. Now, I mentioned this last week. Washington's going to be probably my surprise team of the Big Ten. We'll do our official playoff picks next week. We haven't officially made up our mind, but I have – maybe I shouldn't, but I have Washington going in to Lincoln there and beating Nebraska.
You've got Nebraska. You're going to get their coach fired here with your schedule.
Well, with the final record, he might be. It's not going to be good for Nebraska fans. You can see the trend here.
I have them winning that game. I do think they're getting better. So I do have them beating Washington in Lincoln. If that was out at Husky Stadium, no, but in Lincoln, I do have them winning.
And then
at Illinois, at Illinois next.
2 road games in a row at Illinois. That's one that most people might have as a loss. I actually have them kind of bouncing back and winning that one.
I have that as a loss. So we're all over the place on Nebraska. Yeah, I think at Illinois, much like Iowa, I think that's going to be a dogfight, and I don't think they pull that. I have Iowa pulling it out. I think Illinois will beat Nebraska.
And then turn around again and at Rutgers, which is a pretty far trip for Nebraska. I have them winning that one, but that could be a trap game because they've got Ohio State following that. But I do have Nebraska beating Rutgers.
Yes, I have them beating Rutgers as well. Ohio State comes to Lincoln. So if you are a Nebraska season ticket holder this year, you get Indiana and Ohio State. And Nebraska, you look at Iowa's schedule, and then you look at Nebraska's schedule, and it's not close. Nebraska has a really, really hard Big Ten schedule. At Illinois, and then they play Indiana, at Oregon, and then Ohio State comes down.
And you get Washington coming down. And that's one of my teams. So I have them obviously losing to Ohio State at home.
Yeah, me too. And then finishing with Iowa, we both have that as a loss.
Correct.
So I have them at 7-5, bowl game. Not great, but
6-6 for me. Either 2 of those records are not going to be good for Nebraska, though.
No, they're not going to be happy with either one. But kind of, there's 3 losses just because they're not a top 5 team in the country. So I mean, it can't be. And then you're not going to win. I mean, I guess you could win every other game. I guess I did it with Iowa, but I just don't think Nebraska's as steady as Iowa. So
yeah, you almost think Indiana at Oregon and Ohio State, like you mentioned, those are probably 3 losses.
Yeah.
You never know, right? But you almost have to pencil them in for 3 losses, and then they always struggle versus Iowa, so there's a 4th loss. And I don't know. Where's Bo Pelini at? They need Bo back.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I don't even think Bo's coaching anymore. Who knows? He took his buyout money and just said heck with it.
I don't blame him. The biggest mistake that program's ever made.
I agree. He was crazy, and he was one of a kind, but he won football games.
He did. He was a character. Back when he was coaching, I didn't really care for him. But then, as I've gotten older and looking back at some of the clips and interviews, he was good for Nebraska. They've never recovered from that yet.
No, and remember all those cat pictures with him on his sweater and his cat and everything. I don't think it was his cat, but then he played into it, like on one of the spring games where he came out, I think holding a cat or with that sweater. He's just a weird cat, but he played into it. But yeah, 7-5, 6-6. Our Husker friends are not going to be happy out west.
Not going to be happy, and then, as you mentioned, we're going to go through Penn State as our final team here.
Now, unlike Nebraska, who plays the top of the Big Ten, Penn State does not. So they have one of the easiest schedules in the country. my record is going to reflect that. And it could even be better than I pick here. First 3 games, Marshall at home, at Temple, which I don't think I think it's at Temple, but it's in Philadelphia, which isn't very far. That's why they're playing the game. It might technically be a neutral field, but I believe it's in Philadelphia. And then Buffalo in Happy Valley. So 3-0 with 3 blowouts. They're getting everything going. Whiteouts are ready. Penn State is happy again.
Yep, 3-0 here for me as well. And then the first Big Ten game, this is going to be another one of my shockers of the Big Ten season. I'm going to have Wisconsin coming into Penn State and beating Penn State. Matt Campbell's he's had some struggles early in the season in his career. First Big Ten game is, as a Big Ten coach, of course. And as you mentioned earlier, some people think Wisconsin could be a little bit better than expectations. Fickle, obviously, his job is on the line. So I'm going to have this as another one of the, Big Ten upsets. It's not like Ohio State losing to somebody or Oregon, but it would definitely be an upset. And I've got Wisconsin going into Happy Valley and pulling off the upset there.
Yeah, let's put it this way. If that happens, the Penn State fans are going to go nuts already. But if that happens, Abu Sama, I hope, runs all over Penn State that day, and Matt Campbell for not taking him with them too. So I have them beating Wisconsin. I just think they're better. Wisconsin's not there yet. I do think they're going to take a little step forward, but I don't know if it'll be enough to keep Luke Fickell's job. But I do have Penn State winning that game. At Northwestern next, I have that as a win as well. I just think they're better. Even though it's new stadium, might be the first 10 game in that stadium, just depending on Northwestern schedule, which I don't know. So, and that's actually, we talked about, I believe, last week. That's a place we would both love to go watch a game. I don't even care who they're playing, whatever, but that new stadium right on the lake looks amazing.
So I think, I could be wrong, but I think Northwestern, this is their final season, maybe in that.
Okay. Is it next year that they move?
I think it's next year, but I have obviously Penn State going in there and getting the win, though, just like you do.
Okay. And then now this is one of their tests. They don't have a lot of tests, but this is one of their tests coming up. USC comes to town. That will be a whiteout. I promise. That'll be time TV. I know Penn State's going to push for a night game. You either want a night game or you want an 11 o'clock game against USC. Because the 11 o'clock game is, USC's playing at 9 o'clock or whatever it might have been. So I do have them winning because it's at Happy Valley.
Same here. Matt Campbell's first true big win at Penn State, beating USC at home.
And that's going to be a little bit weird for Matt Campbell because everything I've been told and heard that if Lincoln Riley didn't take that job, Matt Campbell was taking that job at USC. So,
yeah,
kind of
interesting. A what if? The following week they're at Michigan. Yep. I do have them dropping that one. So coming up with their second loss of the season so far.
Yep, I have them losing that one too, and that very, very easily could be switched there. They win at Michigan, but lose to USC at home. Because there are some people that think USC is one of the best teams as well, and they could get to the playoff and make some noise. And Lincoln Riley needs that, actually. So I don't know if he's going to get fired yet, but there's people that want more out of Lincoln Riley and USC.
They gave Lincoln a ton of money, so he's got to get to the playoff this year. I don't know if he would necessarily get fired, but he would go into next season on the hottest of hot seats, right? So Lincoln Riley has got to get to the playoff. If we look at Penn State's schedule, then they're home versus Purdue. I haven't been the win versus Purdue, of course.
Purdue's bad. So at Washington, so this is another one of the they have the Iowa at Michigan at Washington. Long trip. I have them losing at Washington. Husky Stadium's hard. I guarantee Washington's going to push for a night game there. They're going to make that place really hard to play, and I have them losing that one.
Same. I have Penn State going down at Washington.
Yep. So I have them 2 losses so far, and you have them at 3. Correct.
Yep.
And then then they kind of play. They play Minnesota comes there, and Rutgers comes to Happy Valley. I have them winning both those games in Happy Valley.
Same.
And then at Maryland, Maryland just not good. They're going to win that one as well.
Yep. So I've got them at 9-3. I think you've got them at 10-2 then.
Yep, 10-2. They get in the playoff, and everybody's happy, kind of, unless they lose right away. But they at 10-2 probably finish third in the Big Ten, fourth maybe, just on how everybody does. Might host a playoff game, and everybody will be happy again.
Yeah, anything worse than my 9-3 record, fans are going to be just not happy, obviously, because it's a very easy schedule on paper, like you've mentioned. 10-2 is definitely on the board. I'll be interested to see how the Iowa State transfers play there as they get into the Big Ten schedule. Of course, their first 3 games should hopefully not be a problem for them. But for Matt Campbell, that's about as good of a schedule as you can ask for in your first year. Now, I don't know what their schedule looks like, next year. By any means, I never went.
You have to think he looked at the schedule and went, I can come here and win right away and get a little bit of grace. That had to play somewhat of a.
That had to be a big check mark on the pros and cons list when he's doing it. That had to be a big check mark.
You have to look at that, don't you? If you're looking at a job, just what the schedule is going to be over the next couple of years, especially like your non-conference. Obviously the Big Ten, you kind of know, but Marshall, Temple, and Buffalo. I mean, don't get any easier than that when you're at Penn State.
No,
and they're not even going very far. I mean, even if you went, nobody's coming far. That's just what Penn State offers. Iowa State doesn't. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of the state, but yet it's not far from a lot of places. You can get to the city, Philadelphia, New Jersey, DC, back to Cleveland, and it's just not far. Pittsburgh. You drive 5 hours and you can get to a lot of people and a lot of schools.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is obviously a big state, but you mentioned it's right in the middle of the state. So Pittsburgh, Cleveland, New Jersey, Philadelphia, like you mentioned, it's not a far drive or, a really quick flight, obviously. So it all sets up for Campbell in his first year. I am going to, when we get off here later, I'm going to have to go look at what their schedule looks like in the coming years or what teams they have scheduled. But 9-3 has got to be the floor for Penn State in the first year. Now, if they go, let's just say they go 8-4 for some reason, Campbell's not getting fired outside of a scandal. And of course, Penn State, I don't know if you saw, they've got another scandal going on.
I heard this is amazing. And this, it won't happen, but it should. I saw a thing, I don't know if it was TikTok or it was a reel or whatever. It's like, if Penn State doesn't come out to Eric Clapton cocaine, somebody's not doing their job.
I don't know if the president would like that, but yeah, that's something that they definitely could do. Penn State's had a rough history, however many years it's been, back to the Joe Pa years. I forget what year that even was when that all went down, but they've got another scandal on their hands, unfortunately.
To pledge to the frat, you have to go cut and bag cocaine. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, there like 14 or 16 people have been arrested. It's a really big deal. It's not it's nothing small like
no.
Somebody just peddling some stuff at a college. It's a big operation that they had going. So hopefully Campbell can win a lot of games for him and kind of put that in the back pages.
Yeah, but I thought it was really funny. Eric Clapton cocaine. When their first road trip, Michigan's going to do that. They're going to play cocaine, guaranteed. Northwestern, I don't know, but at Michigan, you guarantee they'll play it.
They definitely will. And speaking of people getting punked on or made fun of, as we stick with college here a little bit. This is mainly just a college episode here tonight, but Jaden Daniels, the LSU, the number. I've seen the story so many times. I haven't taken the time to read through it all, but I've heard most people agree that he's making a fool of himself. There's some people that say he has a right to do this, which he does technically have a right to do it, but it seems pretty petty and pretty embarrassing on his behalf.
Well, and he's just catching strays. I can't remember exactly what it was, but you and I, like Northern Iowa, did something like, something about number 5 or not playing on something about, you and I is making fun of him. He's catching strays from everywhere. Here's the biggest problem with the whole thing is his mom is his agent and business dealings person. That's the problem that everybody has with it. So they don't even think it's probably him. It's his mom. And, think he's it's hard when you're mom or dad or whoever in family, when you don't think someone's treating your son's legacy. Or here's the thing. He played 4 years at Arizona State. He only played 1 year at LSU. Joe Burrow, yes, he was a transfer, but he never played and never did anything at Ohio State. He was on the team, but he didn't do anything at Ohio State. And you could argue that he had the best season ever for a college person, not just at LSU, best ever on the best team ever. So it's different. That's the rub. It's Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels difference. That's why they're not happy, I think.
Yeah, that's a big reason. His mom being his agent. A lot of NFL people or people just in sports in general don't really like when family members or agents, because they get emotional, right? That's why you hire an agent that's not related to you. There's no emotion. There's supposed to not be any emotion, or take the emotion out of it per se. And that's why you see family members getting on Twitter or social media defending their son or daughter, wife, brother, whatever it might be, because that's how families are. It's just natural. Yeah. So, but yeah, he is getting punked on by everybody. All these schools are posting stuff on Instagram and Twitter. Hey, we're going to remove our 5-yard line marker out of respect to Jaden Daniels. The baseball games, like, we've agreed not to score 5 runs. We'll either make sure to score 4 or 6 in the upcoming game. So that's kind of that NFL and college connection. But what a headline. He and his team probably didn't think it was going to blow up like this, and boy, it has.
No, I mean, I heard he wants his Heisman Trophy. People don't know this, but when you win the Heisman Trophy, you get one, and then your school gets one, and so it's displayed. Like Iowa has Niall Kinnicks, and they've got Burrows and Jaden Daniels and stuff. He wants that back, and everything. I mean, you have to wonder if it was really his idea, or it was someone, his mom's or whoever. It doesn't even matter, one of his teams. And then you have to wonder now: is he telling them to back off, or is he? If it's him, does he say, go for it? If he is really saying go for this, then he is a very petty person. And he's not what I would want in my starting quarterback and my franchise quarterback.
Yeah, a lot of NFL people are not real impressed by it. They had a bad season last year. Now, probably arguably the greatest rookie season of all time that he had. Yep. And then last season was a disaster. Quinn's going to be on the hot seat there in Washington. I think Washington Commanders are sort of a sneaky pick to be picking in the top 5 of the draft next season. What if he has a bad season and they can get Arch Manning, Dante Moore, CJ Carr, whoever the top quarterbacks that rise to the top, right? Yep. What's Washington do? Do they move on from him? Because he'd have 3 seasons there. And
so you only have 2 left on his rookie deal.
This doesn't help.
Maybe 1 left, and you get 1 more option. So is it a 4-year deal and then option for the 5th? Is that the deal?
Yeah. So, I mean, if they have a bad season, they're going to have some decisions to make, some tough decisions. So, yeah, it seems pretty petty. It's just one of those things that, like you mentioned, did he really get the ball rolling on this, or was it his mom and family, his team, and then maybe they've just been in his ear a lot? He's like, yeah, keep going, lay the hammer. I want the Heisman Trophy back that belongs to the school, which if I'm LSU, I'm not giving that up. Mm-mm. But maybe that'll lead us to we can be kind of quick on the NFL and some other things tonight since we're coming up on an hour. But that's just a strange story. It's an August story. We're in August, but that one has really blown up even more than I thought it would.
Yeah, I mean, that's what everybody's doing straight. I mean, it's not having number 5 out of respect. I mean, it's just everything you see on every reel and Twitter and everything. I mean, it's crazy.
We got to make sure we go over an hour so we don't end on a 5 number. We're at 58 minutes right now, so we at least got to go another minute and 10 seconds here.
Yeah, and we will.
Daniels.
Yeah. So the next thing is we are just going to do a quick NFL 5 minutes or so here. Goodell has kind of confirmed, or at least hinted at, a team coming from outside the United States. Not a surprise. They've tried. They're going to Europe more than once a year with multiple teams. They've been at Mexico City. They've been in Brazil. They're going to Australia this year. They are definitely trying to grow that brand worldwide. Now, they've got America, probably even Canada, probably a lot of Mexico just because it's so close. But they definitely are trying to grow it. Don't you think the team's going to have to be in Europe?
Well, there are 32 teams right now, so there's a lot of ways we could go on this. But
Well, you could add one in Canada or Mexico really easy. Like
Toronto would be the play, even though the Bills are close. But Toronto's got all the professional sports teams in other leagues.
Yep.
So that's already established. So I think Toronto, let's just say they add 2 teams.
Yep.
Toronto would be one, and then London would be the other.
Yep. Yeah, it's just one of those teams when they would come and you'd almost have to have them come for 2 or 3 games in a row and then send them back. And then teams over there, you almost have to do the bye type thing like they've done. Logistically, it'd be a little bit hard, but how far is the flight from New York? Like for the Jets and Giants and Washington, Baltimore. What is that flight? 5-6 hours?
7 to 7.5, I think.
What is it? What is it to go to Seattle? 4.5?
New York to LA, I think 6.
Okay, so it's farther, but it's not like way farther.
For the East Coast teams, it's a little bit more doable. I've been on this for years on here. You've heard me talk about this. Yep. Some of our new listeners, I've always said there's going to be a team in London, probably outside the United States here at some point. Travel is going to be a little bit of an issue, but not the biggest thing. I mean, we've talked about this past couple of years, and you just said it a minute ago. If they come to the United States to play, you probably want to have them come for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And then when they go home to London, they've got 2 or 3 home games, and you kind of stagger it that way. The NFL is going to have a place for them to train, practice field, weight room, film room. And then does the NFL and the owners, which they're not going to like to do this, but in the long run, they're going to make a lot of money. Do they build them a living quarters here in the United States and in London, since we're using London as the example, because you're going to ask players to rent or own a house here in America, and then the same thing in London, because they're going to be there 4 or 5 months a year with the season going on. So there's got to be some compromises. There's going to be a lot of star players. Probably the bottom 70% of the league, they don't have much of a choice. If London was to offer them a contract as a free agent, they're going to take it because they're desperate. But call it the top 30% of the league. Most of them are not going to want to go to London because they've got families. They've got kids. They're not going to want to be gone. So what do you do if you're the NFL? Could you do something like every year that you play for a team in London, you're given X amount of dollars bonus money after you retire?
Yeah.
Something like that. Or could you do something where if you play for a London team for 2 or 3 plus years, you're guaranteed employment within the league or the league partners after you retire? They're going to have to make some incentives for players to want to go over there. Now, draft picks, they are what they are. They're going to have to go play. It is what it is. They own their rights for a year, so they're not going to have a choice. But the top free agents, it's going to be tough to get them there. So you're going to have to do something to entice them to go over to London.
Yeah, because it's logistically, it's just so hard. That's where, like if the team's in Mexico City, it is what it is. Or teams in Toronto or British Columbia or, Vancouver. I mean, those are just like American cities. It's no different to travel, say you're from Florida and you're on Seattle's team. If you're from Florida and playing Mexico City, it's probably closer. Now, different countries, so there is that logistics, but just straight up distance and time and everything, it's no different. And then obviously Toronto and Vancouver are just like American cities. So, yeah, I'm with you on you'd have to almost have a American home base, establish that. And the NFL's got all kinds of money, so they can pick a city. What's a city that doesn't have a team right now that wants one?
There's probably plenty on the East Coast. I mean, somewhere in Virginia, Fredericksburg, maybe anywhere on the East Coast, maybe somewhere in South Carolina, near Clemson University, somewhere in there where you could build a practice facility and a living quarters.
Or you could even go, I don't know, Boston's probably even closer flight. You go up to like Maine or whatever and build a place. I don't know. And that's just where they train or whatever. It's as close as you can get to London. But then, like you said, I think you'd almost need to furnish, buy an apartment building in London, and that's where our guys live, and their families live for the year, or, make it. It can't cost them money. I mean, they've got all kinds of money, but that's just one of those things. I think you are 100% right. You have to concede that, or any flights back and forth are paid for by the NFL. There's just things there that you have to give them that you don't give other teams.
Yeah, you've got to make it attractive for free agents to want to go there. Rookies, again, that's a different aspect altogether. I think some rookies and veterans that go there will probably like it. They'll probably enjoy their time. Some won't. Some won't want to be away from their families, but if they want to hang on in the NFL for another couple of years, and that's the only offer they have, they're probably going to have to take it. The schedule will be tough to figure out. Obviously, they're going to go to an 18-game schedule here soon, 2 bye weeks. So what you could do is any team that travels over to London to play them, you work your best to give them a bye week after that game. Yep. Get a little bit of extra rest coming back. But it's going to happen. There's going to be issues. It's not going to be perfect. But if the NFL and the owners think that they can make X amount of extra dollars per year by having a team there, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Rich, successful, motivated people with more money on the line, they're going to figure out a way to get it done.
Well, and then I don't know this. I can look this up. I didn't even think about it. I probably should have. There's several NFL owners that have interest in soccer clubs over there and might already own the stadiums over there. And so they would definitely rent those out or whatever they need to do, or build another stadium, whatever, that they know there's money over there because they're spending, I know the family that owns the Buccaneers own one of them, and, they all have a stake in one of those, because those companies just all do. But yeah, so there's already, those owners already know the London market, not necessarily for American football, but they know it for football. And yeah, like you said, 100%. If they know they can everybody makes $25 million a year more every year, that's hard to turn down.
It'll be messy. There'll be some obstacles that they have to overcome. Everybody that I see talking about it, they think the sky is falling. The sky is not falling. And guess what's going to happen on game day? Everybody's going to tune in and watch. Yeah. I think it'd be a little bit interesting too with the time difference. We may get some games on some unusual times here in America, which
you would have them in the morning. I mean, they'd be in the morning, and that's where the NFL is gonna make their money is now. And we do it now when they're there. You wake up and an NFL game's on at 9 o'clock in the morning. So now they're going to have from 9 o'clock in the morning till 10:30 at night. Or staggered even better. Maybe, you can go from 6:30 in the morning till 10:30 at night. I mean, you can't tell me that an NFL fan, the Bears are playing there, and the Bears are, it's week 13 and they're 10-2, and the London team is 9-1 or whatever it might be, that you're not going to get up at 6:30 and watch it. You're crazy. You darn right most people are.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they put an expansion team over there, they'll have to have an expansion draft. Then every team will have to select an X number of players that are eligible for the draft. And then what does the NFL do? Do they give the team from London the first overall pick? Do they give them extra draft picks for the first year or two to help build their roster? So they're going to have to do some things to make it attractive to go play there. I don't have all the answers, but the one thing we do know, there's this much money involved. It's going to happen one way or another.
Absolutely. Preseason, I know you have some things, just the one thing, and it came out today, we talked about it before we hit record here, but Jaden Higgins for the Houston Texans, really solid receiver for them out of Iowa State, tore his ACL today after we made our rundown and everything, but made note of that. What else in the preseason? Other injuries or notes, or just Dan Campbell's cutting his coffee intake. That's big news. He went to the doctor and they told him to, and he's doing it. He's making life changes.
Yeah, the Higgins injury sucked. He was going to be a big part of their offense. He had 6 touchdowns last year as a rookie, I believe. They were expecting him to be a strong number 2. Obviously, Nico Collins, one of the better receivers in the league, is their number 1. Tank Dell's coming back from that devastating injury, so Tank Dell's going to have to, whenever he gets healthy, step up. Jalen Noel, maybe this opens some up more opportunities for them.
The Texans are a popular Super Bowl pick for all the right reasons because they've got the defense that can get it done. It's just going to come down to C.J. Stroud in the passing game, so this doesn't help. That was a bummer to see. Von Miller signed with Dallas, just another depth piece for them. He had 9 sacks last year, which I didn't even realize. So if he can come in 6, 7 sacks, 8, I mean, he's a veteran.
He's going to be a good locker room guy. He's, if they have the type of season that you and others think that they might have, he's been there, done that. And it never hurts to have guys like that in your locker room that can be productive in their limited. I mean, he's not going to play all the snaps. He's going to play very limited snaps, but he's going to help.
He definitely will. So it's just another piece of the puzzle. Them getting rid of Micah, in my opinion, was the right move. Everybody freaked out over it. But it gave him more flexibility with the cap situation. Draft picks, they've just got a lot more chess pieces on defense. Now we'll see if the defense can come together and actually be productive, but they've got a lot of pieces there. So I kind of like what the Cowboys have been doing. I know we talked about it last week. We're going to do NFL predictions here in a couple weeks.
Yep.
Next week we'll do our college football playoff.
I think the first game's like the 12th or 13th, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so we still got a little bit of time before NFL playoff predictions and Super Bowl, but that's a little bit on the NFL, and I know we're going a little bit long here tonight. Just want to end with the Indiana Fever. They're on a roll. They've got they're on a 5-game road stretch. Yep. They're 2-0 on it to start. They play tomorrow night at Dallas against Paige Beckers, Saturday at New York, and then Sunday, I mean, they got to go straight to Chicago. They're at Chicago, so it's tough. They really need to win 2 out of these next 3. I don't know if they can do it, but they are on a roll right now.
Yeah, and I believe that Fudd from Dallas is out for the season with a knee injury, so that doesn't hurt the Fever. Now they still have Paige Beckers, but they're just. I watched most of the game. Was it yesterday, the day before? Whatever day it was, and they're just playing well. Kelsey Mitchell's playing lights out, and then she got hurt, whatever, poked in the eye, and she wasn't happy with some. They were grabbing and holding, and she was not happy. And yes, it was the Fever announcers, but they were like, she doesn't do that. And so, they were holding everybody. And then Sophie Cunningham made a big 3 to kind of seal it. That's the one thing with the Fever. They get out to big leads, like just walk in the park. And then they just have like 3 minutes where they just look like they don't know how to play. Caitlin will make a pass she shouldn't make. They miss a shot. And then another team comes down, hits 2 threes in a row. And all of a sudden it goes from 14 to 8. And now you got to pick back up again, but they recover. Caitlin hit a couple threes, got close again, and she's just steady. I know Mitchell went for 20, and it was 20 straight games for 20 points for her. Like we said, Caitlin Clark is not the best player in the WNBA, but she's the most popular and maybe the most important to her team because, again, it's her passing. That's what I watched. A couple of them, she doesn't connect with them all, but I even saw one to Sophie that she tried to thread the needle and it didn't get to her, but you could just see it. She saw what was happening, and most players wouldn't even see that was there, and it's just a little bit too far for her. But she's just amazing with the ball, and when she gets that left hand, dribble, step back, almost money.
Yeah, her jump shot's really improved close to the basket. She really worked on that in the offseason, so that's been a nice addition to her game. Yeah, her and Mitchell have been going off. Michaela Timpson, their second-year player out of Florida State, she's really come on. She did really good against Angel Reese in that game against Atlanta. Obviously, that was one that we hadn't talked about yet, but Angel Reese missing that bunny to win the game. I was nervous watching that, and when I saw that not go in, I'm like, all right, we got a chance. And then, of course, you see the memes of Caitlin Clark smiling or laughing.
And here's the thing: it might not even been about her or anything. That's what's funny. It might have been, but it might not have been. It might have been nothing about Angel Reese. Just happened to get that picture.
Yeah, Angel Reese is probably the best rebounder that the league's ever seen. Yeah. But she is not even average, not even below average. She's atrocious at shooting the basketball. I mean, that 3 that she took early in that game against the Fever.
Well, and then that layup, she 2 foot. I mean, you just shoot a layup. You learned that in 3rd grade.
It looks like me if I was shooting because I never played basketball. So that's what I would do because I wouldn't. I'd probably panic and do the same thing that she did. But if she can just become an average shooter, I mean, imagine how much better she's going to get. But back to the Fever, they're on a roll. Like I said, if their defense can get a little bit better, they've got a real chance to win it. They've got a really tough schedule down the three road games in a row. They've got to play their last 2 games of the regular season is versus Minnesota, and then 2 days later at Minnesota, the best team in the league. That could lose them some seeds, because right now, since Atlanta beat Vegas last night, Indiana moved into the 3 spot.
Okay.
But it's not guaranteed. They've got a really tough schedule down the stretch. So we'll see if they can hold on that 3 spot. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep it. I wouldn't be surprised if they drop down to 4 or 5 when it's all said and done. But they really want to be in the top 4 seeds. That way, the opening round of the playoffs, you get the home court advantage, I should say.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Anything else, Trev? We'll be back next week with our college, like, conference winner picks, playoff picks, national championship picks. This week was just game by game for 4 teams that are interested in our interest in, our fans and everything else like that. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in. YouTube, like, subscribe, Spotify, Pod Chaser, whatever one you listen to, just like and subscribe and tell friends. And I know, it's kind of one thing I did want to touch. I see it, you're not there, Trev, you don't have kids and you're just not the age yet. But a lot of friends of mine, and we had 2 kids that went to college this last week, and it's not easy on everybody, and life change, and little brothers, little sisters, and cats and dogs, and moms and dads, and everybody are just, it's not the easiest of times right now, whether it's your last kid, now you got an empty nest, or it's your first one, you don't know what all to do with it. Lots of pictures and lots of people with a few tears in their eyes as they leave Ames or Iowa City or Central College or Simpson College or wherever it might be, all over the country. What's funny is, we dropped Connor off at Iowa State, and literally it is from where I was in a dorm to where he is about a 2-minute walk. It was right there. It was like I'm walking up the stairs. It was just the hall right next to him, up 1 floor. I was like, I've done this before, and it's just crazy how we talk about the world is small and everything. 20. I went in 98, so 28 years later, I'm walking this, and honestly, they've been painted and stuff, but they are the same. I mean, it's not changed at all. It's old buildings. It's kind of nice.
The smell of the building, the memories come back, all that stuff. Yep.
They've made, you can't open the windows like you can. They got stops and stuff on it like we could, and probably for the better.
Probably because you and your generation ruined that for them now.
Well, yes, because I don't remember exactly how we did it, but we didn't. There was a fire escape, and so you could get out there. Our couch got out there, and when we were done with the couch, we just threw it down 3 or 4 floors. That didn't help things probably.
No, but that's college life. Yeah, that's you're right though. Seen a bunch of pictures online. We'll see more over the next week or 2. Kids going back to school, like you mentioned, first timers or last timers, high school, junior high, grade school, college. It's an exciting time, a nervous time, but you can just feel it in the air. Football's back, school's getting ready to start again. You know that feeling. It's close.
Yeah. It's a little cooler in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
It gets darker a little earlier, darker a little later in the morning. You can just start to feel it.
You definitely can. So yeah, I mean, wish everybody the best as they go on their journeys, starting school, ending, maybe it's their senior year, going off to college, whatever it is. It's a fun and exciting time though, for sure.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll talk next week, Trev, and we'll be in touch. It's the time of year where we chat a little bit more off air because football is close.
That's right. Yep. We'll be back next week, college picks, and then some NFL stuff, and then it'll be football for like 5 straight months.
Yep. Once football starts, it's pretty easy to do this podcast all the way through April and basketball season. Then it gets interesting, but August through April is pretty easy.
It's pretty easy. That's right.
Yep. All right. Talk to you later, Trev.
Have a good one.